About a month or so ago, I engaged on a quest to rank every single ice tower on a tier list. At least, every single ice tower I've known from the Roblox games I've played. And that video did pretty well. But today, I think it's high time for a sequel. Today, it's time to take a look at every fire tower. Unlike ice towers, fire towers are not only plentiful, but relatively well used by most players in these games. There are usually an abundance of these things lying around just because a lot of towers have abilities or byproduct attacks that do burn damage. Due to this, making this list was not an easy task. Even limiting myself to only the games that I play, there are just so many fire towers. But regardless of all of that, we are going to rank every single one. So without further ado, let's meet our games and our contestants. As usual, our contestants are obviously games that I've played before, so Tower Battles, TDS, Tower Blitz, TDX, World Tower Defense, Tower Galactica, and Doom's Tower Defense. And this time, Tower Heroes, because unlike last time, there are actually fire towers in Tower Heroes. I don't want to spoil anything because I have a feeling that this video is going to serve as revenge for two games in particular, but whatever. Without further ado, now that we know the games, let's go through the nightmare of meeting our towers. From Tower Battles, we have the Flamethrower and the Hollow Boomer. From TDS, we have the Pyromancer, Golden Pyromancer, and Jester with the Fire Bombs only. From Tower Blitz, this is where it gets interesting. We have Bottom Path Sharpshooter and only X3 Crossbower, so the Bottom Path 3rd upgrade Crossbower. From TDX, we have Bottom Path Ranger, Bottom Path Mine Layer, Bottom Path Patrol Boat, Bottom Path Barracks Flamethrower Unit, and Golden Mine Layer's Bottom Path Red Thermite, which it's fire, but it's also not fire. I don't know. I'm counting it though. From World Tower Defense, oh my freaking god, here we go. We got Demo Man, Igniter, Barrager, Noob Fighters Firebrand, Aviator, Kindler, and Gasoliner. Please help me, dude. And from Tower Galactica, we have the Equinox with his Fire Crystals only, and of course, Firebrand. From Doom's Tower Defense, we have Lumi, Mage, Rocketeer Maxed Mastery, Slingshot, and Galactic Gunner. I swear there was one more with fire, but I don't know. I forgot. And finally, for Tower Heroes, we have Fire Slimes, Dumpster Child, Jester, and Voka level 2. Now that we met our contestants, before we actually get to the ranking, let me just go into exactly how I'm doing this. I'm comparing how well these towers do in their own respective games to each other. I am not directly comparing the stats. This is because all these games have completely different balancing structures, and that would lead to games like TDX and World Tower Defense dominating because their games naturally have more enemies with higher health on average compared to games like Tower Heroes and Tower Galactica. I just want to make that distinction clear so that everyone watching this can see what my thought process is. So with that out of the way, let's jump into the list, tier by tier. So boom. Here's the list. Yeah, starting with our lone 2 F tiers, the only 2 towers down here are of course X3 Crossbower and Equinox's Fire Spells only. I mean, in the previous video I explained why his ice is so bad, so I don't really need to repeat myself here when it comes to Equinox. It's just an RNG based spell that is super slow and only affects a small zone. While Burning is the best of the 3 effects that he has, with the Frostburn being even better, it doesn't even hold a candle to the other fire effects in his own game. With Crossbower, it's a similar story. His fire and electricity combo is just pathetic, which makes sense, he's not even maxed out. And it doesn't even get any better at X4, it actually becomes weaker because he'll only burn specific zombies. Fire and Tower Blitz in general is actually just quite weak, but even then, for his low standards, the fire damage is just not even that good. Next is D tier, we have Lumi from Doom's Tower Defense and Jester from Tower Heroes. These guys suffer from completely opposite problems, despite being the same kind of type of tower. Lumi is an extremely weak still, even after her rework, as all her spells are just worse versions of the Wizard Tower. Her Fireball attack is strong and can hit hiddens, but its damage compared to what you pay for it just isn't enough. It's not worth it. It's just not good. Jester's issue is that he's too unpredictable. I don't own this tower, so I can't truly speak to his usefulness as a whole, but as a source of consistent burn damage, this guy does not seem all that reliable. C tier is quite large, but here's the gist of the towers that are in here. Their flames are just one of many attacks that they have, or they're just a byproduct of another attack, which therefore isn't a very good source of burn damage as a result. The only exception here is the Noob Fire with the Firebrand. It's just unfortunately outclassed by Barrager in my opinion. The B tiers are all pretty self-explanatory. Most of these guys get the job done well and are effective at what they do. Some might be upset by how relatively low my placements of Pyromancer and Patrol Boat are, as these guys are primarily Flame Towers, so they should be good, right? Well, in Pyromancer's case, not only is his golden variant completely outshine him substantially, but Pyro has a hit limit on his flames now, making him a lot worse at his one job, crowd control. As for Patrol Boat, he's just so expensive. He's good, don't get me wrong, but I know a lot of strats use him, but his own flames just aren't that great, especially when there's a cheaper, arguably more powerful option. Not to mention, very few maps have small pools of water for the Patrol Boat, so you're not even going to be using this guy all that often. Going into the A tiers, I don't think I really need to explain why they're here. I mean, the stats and gameplay I'm showing right now should pretty much explain themselves. It might be shocking to see the towers appear so high, but that's because fire mechanics in that game are rather exclusive and very rewarding as an result. Also, the rest of the World Tower Defense Towers are here because World Tower Defense Towers are insane. Now we come to the place where explanations will be needed. The S tiers, the best of the best. Flamethrower, Dumpster Child, and Golden Pyro are all three kind of the weaker S tiers in my opinion, but they're still incredibly strong burners. They're capable of doing great damage and defense piercing in some cases, as well as slowing down enemies in G-Pyro's case. Barrager is absolutely nutty insane, however she can still hurt herself at higher levels, which while she's strong this does hurt her insane slowing and damage outputs because it's not going to be as permanent because eventually she will just kill herself with a fire. This leaves us with three towers that I think are the real contenders for the strongest fire tower in Roblox tower defense history: Galactic Gunner, Kindler, and Firebrand. All three of these towers are ridiculously strong in their own right. Galactic Gunner is capable of dealing permanent, consistent fire damage on a theoretically infinite range, and the fire isn't even his main attack. Kindler creates a massive AoE of constant fire damage, and has two paths that just make fire damage even more insane. And Firebrand is just ridiculously broken in this game, being able to throw and shoot Molotovs at a very high rate, and being able to literally set the entire world on fire, boosting the fire rate of other towers. He can also throw fire stoppers, which can completely stun enemies, even bosses, for multiple seconds while dousing them in flames. Despite their strengths, these towers also have weaknesses to them as well. Firebrand's World on Fire ability also speeds up enemies. Kindler has to sacrifice other towers in her range in order to reach her full potential. And Galactic Gunner only gets his fire attack at level 3, and it only becomes permanent at max level, which is ridiculously expensive to get. So who's the best? Well, it all comes down to their games for this one. Like I said, we are comparing how good they are to each other in their own respective games. Because of this, I think Firebrand is able to beat out the other two. Firebrand is a big fish in a small pond. He is one of only two towers capable of dealing fire damage, and his compatriot is really bad at it, compared to Galactic Gunner and Kindler, who both come from games where there is a lot of other fire towers to choose from. Another thing working in Firebrand's favor is the fact that his game's enemies have no resistances to fire. Yes, I've checked. Not a single enemy in Tower Galactica has a fire resistance, meaning that at all times, to all enemies, Firebrand is dealing pure, raw fire damage. This is opposed to Kindler and Galactic Gunner, where enemies in their games have fire resistance or immunity, therefore statistically making them worse than Firebrand. And that's really it. The winner is Firebrand from Tower Galactica. At the end of the day, fire towers are used a lot more diversely compared to ice towers. While ice towers all share a common purpose of stalling the enemy, fire towers can do anything from stall enemies to do DPS or do damage over time. The power of flames between these games is just so different that I had to completely switch up how I was ranking these in order to make it fair. But in the end, I think I figured it out. So, what do you think of this tier list? Do you agree or do you not? Leave your opinions and comments in the comments. Also, be sure to like and subscribe. We are getting close to 20k, and I really want to reach that milestone. But anyways, that's really all I've got for this video. Yeah, see you guys all next time. Bye.
I can only hope that it's not nearly as stupid and detrimental